May I come in, sir?
Yes, come.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Ma'am.
Vedika, have a seat. So, Vedika is from Jaipur,
Yes, sir.
Rajasthan. And the Political Science International Relations,
Yes,
Economics.
Yes, sir.
This is the first time, first attempt?
No, sir, this is my third attempt.
Third attempt. But interview call for the first time.
Second time, sir.
Second time.
Yes, sir.
How many marks did you get last time?
149 marks, sir.
So, baking cookies and biscuits
Yes.
is your hobby. Watching movies on social issues.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Vedika, supposing I asked you that you are the Secretary of Women and Child Development, Government of India, and you have been given a discretion that you can take 5 steps for women and 5 proactive steps for children, for their empowerment, for their protection, for their welfare. Concrete 5 steps. What will you take for women and 5 for children?
So, if I can have a moment to think about it.
Yeah, you can think. Sure.
So, first step for women I would like to take is strengthening of self-help groups. As a secretary at the Government of India level, I would direct the state secretaries and the state women and child department to take one district, one product approach with respect to self-help groups and geographical and targeted approach. This would enable agri-value addition, whereas where women self-help groups can be attached to it. So, second step that I would take regarding women is regarding water scarcity. So, water scarcity plays an important role in role of women. So, how soak pits or groundwater recharge can be done, or how better water availability can be done, so that women are engaged in labor force and other sectors, so that they are freed from the role of water collection. So third, I would like to work upon transportation security of women. It so happens that when women lives in remote areas, they're not able to participate in higher education or labor force because of the distance and the insecurity that is attached with it. So, sir, if I could work upon that and a secure transportation system can be built. So, fourth area that I would like to work upon is women's health, especially with regard to maternal health and Anganwadi system. And so fifth area regarding women where I would like to work upon is how women's participation in higher education can be increased, especially in the STEM sector and other professional degrees. We see in humanities there is higher gross enrollment of women, but when it comes to professional education and STEM sector, their enrollment is less.
Okay. Tell me, Vedika, would you not like to bring in that particular legislation which is pending approval by the parliament for reservation in the legislative assemblies and parliament? Would it not be a priority?
Sir, as a bureaucrat, I thought that my work is regarding policy formulation and
I
implementation.
said you can take any steps regarding 5 women and 5 steps regarding children.
So I think that is also an
It's
important
also
bill.
important. Or reservation of women in civil service.
No, sir, I would like to, if given an opportunity, reservation for women in the parliament is something I would support, but not in civil services, sir.
What about children?
So 5 steps regarding children that I would take. First is primary education. In terms of primary education, how better community engagement can be done at the primary level. For instance, in Rajasthan, Samudayak Bal Panchayats are conducted, which helps in monitoring outcomes as well as involvement of parents, which increases the social audit. If such experiments can be undertaken at the national level, I would like to work upon that. So second, I would like to work upon is on children who are of migrant laborers as well as those who are victim of child labor as well as human trafficking. how migrant laborer cards can be built and a portability of education can take place when they move from one place to another is something that I would like to work upon. So third area with regard to children where I would like to work upon is integration of school report card with health report card. So that better monitoring of their nutritional status can be done. So fourth area with regard to children where I would like to work upon is how vocational education can be integrated with our schooling system. For instance, in Madhya Pradesh, skill exhibitions takes place where holistic education and extracurricular activities are displayed and they are linked with vocational education. If this can be taken place at the national level, I would like to work upon that.
Okay, my last question to you.
Yes.
Marketing plays a very important part, whether in private sector or in government. Ministry of Railways, almost all PSUs, they are also engaged in marketing. Because ultimately we have to reach to the consumer. We have to popularize government schemes, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao,
Yes.
Swachh Bharat. So marketing plays a very important part. I will ask you to name that particular organization whose slogan is this, connecting people. I'm
Fine.
sure you know about it. Come on. Connecting people. It's related to an organization from Finland. Now tell me.
So I'm sorry, I cannot read.
It's relation, it's something which you use it almost on a daily basis. Related to a mobile. Now tell me. Connecting people. Name of a company?
So is it BSNL, sir?
Nokia.
Okay, sir.
You know that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Vedika, PSIR is your optional.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Which are the areas of your interest?
So in PSR, international relations is my particular area of interest.
Okay. So can you tell me why India refused to join NPT and CTBT?
So one of the prime reason why India opposed to join NPT and CTBT is the nuclear apartheid that it created between the nuclear haves and have-nots, where India has always stood for nuclear disarmament, but at a verified and universal level. In case of NPT and CTBT, only few powers were allowed to have nuclear power, while others were left at their mercy for
How many?
protection. So 5 powers under NPT.
And which year was NPT brought in?
Sir, till where I remember, it was 1968,
67.
67. Okay,
Yeah.
sir.
And concluded in 1970.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So what is India's objection basically?
So one is regarding creating two worlds. One is of nuclear haves and have-not. Second, nuclear proliferation treaty does not talk about disarmament, and particularly it does not. It only talks about the issue of horizontal proliferation. It does not talk about the issue of vertical proliferation.
Very well. Excellent. Very good. So 1974 India did the PNE, Peaceful Nuclear Explosion.
Yes, sir.
And this London Club was formulated after that, 1974. What was this London Club all about? Which later on took a different shape, and we are still struggling to be part of it.
Yes, sir. So it later on became Nuclear Supplier Group, and basically the aim of it was that the materials which have dual use, such as uranium, are supplied
Dual use technology, basically.
Yes, are supplied through secure chains so that these materials do not come in wrong hands. As India is a non-signatory of NPT, India wasn't included in Nuclear Supplier Group, sir.
Okay. Now, there are 3 types of security dilemmas. Security dilemma, have you heard this term?
Yes, sir.
So there is perceptional security dilemma, there is structural, and there is imperialistic security dilemma. What are these 3 types and what is the difference between them? Perceptional and structural, I think, is very obvious by name itself. Can you throw some light? Perceptional, okay. Tell one of them. Perceptional security dilemma.
Sir, from the name till where I can understand, perceptual security dilemma is caused because of perception of a threat. For instance, in the perception that India was building its nuclear power, Pakistan built its nuclear power.
Very well. Excellent. What about the structural?
So structural security dilemma exists because of the power asymmetry that exists. For instance, in India and China, there exists structural issues with respect to unresolved border disputes. So there are structural issues in the very nature of their relationships, which creates a security dilemma.
And from the third one is now left. That also, I'm sure you know the answer, which is imperialistic security dilemma. India vis-a-vis
UK, sir.
China.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
China is
Okay, sir. Aggressive
throwing
rise of China.
aggressive stance and expanding its claims and all
Okay,
kind
sir.
of.
Okay, sir.
Thank
Thank you, sir.
Right, Vedika, you were vice president of the Community Service
Yes, sir.
Club.
Yes.
What did you achieve out of this? You come from a very elite school, from a family which is financially very well off, and so must be majority of the students in that school. What did you gain from there?
So as a vice president and co-founder of Community Service Club, there were three main areas of work. One was collaboration with various NGOs around the city and doing community outreach programs, especially education programs. So as students, we used to go to slums and teach children teach children at primary
What
level.
were you teaching them?
So basic mathematics, addition, subtraction, division were being taught. These were the children who belonged to
So
the...
they say that if a man is hungry, you give him fish today, he'll be hungry tomorrow. You teach him how to fish, he'll never go hungry.
Yes, sir.
So, towards that, how much is this helping? And how much did it change the mindset of students who were doing this from well-to-do families? Or is it one of those check your CV boxes?
No, sir. It actually helped both the ends at our school level. It helped to generate awareness among us as students and sensitize us about the situations that are present at the ground level. Sir, on the end of the students that were a part of these programs, it helped them. It became like a remedial class for them. Some of these students were not able to pass their examinations. So these classes became like a bridge course to them, which helped them to bridge the gap with other students.
Okay. You know, India-China trade, China has a trade surplus of $100 billion.
Yes, sir.
And even after Galwan, for the next 2 years, their trade actually doubled with India. And India's trade deficit accounts for 11% of its overall trade deficit. Is China outsmarting India?
So if I see current economic situation around the globe, China has become a central of global supply chain. So it is not only India with which trade deficit is there. Around the globe, China has a heavy trade surplus. Mm-hmm. And sir, it isn't about China outsmarting India, but since China opened its economy first and created a strong manufacturing base.
This is an excuse I've been hearing for the last 2 decades, that they did it earlier. Okay, whatever we did it in 1945, China, India, South Korea, Vietnam, Japan, Germany, we all had the same starting level. We give that excuse. We pride ourselves with democracy. But finally, at the end of the day, a man must get his dignity and bread.
So it is true that India's growth story, if compared to China, can be said that it was a slower growth story. But sir, I think democracy is equally important. And it is the democracy which ensures that one is able to express one is able to utilize freedom of speech and expression. For instance, during COVID times, we could not even understand what was going under the restrictions of China. But in India, there was a transparency that the whole world appreciated. Sir, regarding India's growth story, yes, sir, it has been a slow process. But now when we are moving towards Atmanirbhar Bharat, today we are the 5th largest economy and China is facing China does not have the window of demographic dividend that it had earlier. Now that India has it, I think this the coming 10, 20, 30 years will be India's time, sir.
Is it really a demographic dividend? I mean, are these people going to get employment over the next 3 years?
So I think it is a demographic dividend if they are provided with proper skills,
No, we
education.
have been, the Skill India program has been running for a couple of years now. It should have produced some results.
So I think they have produced results, and as we see today, India ranks higher in Global Innovation Index. India has become the third largest ecosystem in terms of startups. So, sir, I acknowledge that the progress has been slow, but sir, now it is taking
90%
place.
of the startups fail. India must not be no different. Startup, you start, it's okay, good. But that's the statistics of startups. But anyway, just food for thought. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Vedika, you are a BA honors
Yes, sir.
graduate in economics.
Yes, sir.
Why did you opt PSIR? Why not economics?
So actually in 12th standard, I opted commerce as my subjects, and at that time I had exposure only with economics. So I decided to go with economic honors. But during UPSC's preparation, I realized my interest in political science and international relations. And so I thought I will take my optional as a political science and international relations.
You were not comfortable with economics.
So I realized that I have more interest in my optional subject.
What are the major foreign policy challenges in India?
So in current context, one of the largest challenge that we face is that of aggressive rise of China with context to our borders, the trade surplus that it exhibits, and also China's string of pearls policy that is going in the Indo-Pacific region. So second challenge is India's stand in respect to the great power rivalry that is also taking place, especially with respect to US-China rivalry or US-Russia rivalry that is taking place. Since this is the time where India is growing, we need a more stable global order. So that is one of the foreign policy challenge. So third challenge comes from the security of the South Asian region, especially from Afghanistan. So since Afghanistan is currently being ruled by Taliban, Taliban, and in India we find that Pakistan finds its strategic depth in Afghanistan. So the threat of terrorism and cross-border infiltration still remains there. So these are few challenges.
Okay. Do you feel that the Supreme Court of late has become more proactive, more assertive vis-a-vis the government, executive?
So I think it is a mixed experience. In some cases we see case of judicial activism, but in some cases we see cases of judicial restraint.
Okay. For instance, Supreme Court a couple of days back made an observation that governors of some states in our country are very active in participating in politics. It's a very serious indictment of the executive. Do you agree with this?
So I think in spirit of separation of power, judiciary should restrain from making comments upon the executive and the nature how executive is functioning. But sir, at the same time, judiciary has been given a role of protecting federalism of the country as well. So in that spirit,
That's what they are doing. They are protecting the federal structure of the country.
Yes, sir.
What is the role of a governor? He has to be non-partisan. He has to be neutral. He is not supposed to be politically aligned to a party.
Yes, sir.
In that context, Supreme Court made a observation.
Yes, sir.
Achha, now, second and last question is about the appointment of chief election commissioners and election commissioners.
Yes, sir.
Supreme Court has laid down a collegium approach.
Yes, sir.
Do you think it's a very good step?
Yes, sir. I think it is a step in right direction. As under Article 324, there was a legislative void that was existing, as Parliament was supposed to make the law for it. And sir, in that regard also, judiciary maintained restraint because the verdict would, the collegium system would only function till Parliament comes with its own law.
Don't you think other constitutional bodies like C and AG, they should also be selected on the same basis?
So second ARC has recommended that constitutional body should be appointed on the basis of collegium system. So I think sir, same approach can be taken for other bodies as well.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Vedika,
Yes, ma'am.
you are a student of economics.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you point out 3 faulty economic policies of Indian government in last 10 years?
Ma'am, not faulty, but the policies that have fallen short of achieving their targets. One would be disinvestment policy. Although it is in a right spirit, but we are not able to achieve the disinvestment targets as much as needed for our country. Ma'am, I'm sorry, I can think of only this policy right now.
It's all right. You see, Vedika, you're a student of economics and you were discussing about haves and have-nots.
Yes.
And economic inequality in India is greatly visible in every aspect. How do you think we can solve this problem of economic inequality?
Ma'am, I think more redistribution of income should take place, especially through human development approach. Currently, what we are facing in our country is that there's a vicious cycle of poverty that sometimes people are trapped into it due to overlap of caste or class dynamics or gender or class dynamics. So if proper education and health is provided at the grassroots level and at the same time, so that a person can become self-reliant, is something that we should work upon.
Have you heard about capability approach?
Yes, ma'am.
What is it?
Ma'am, capability approach is Amartya Sen's approach. It is regarding building capability and is building human well-being and development, so that their skill sets and their education and health is such that they can build capabilities to achieve their goals.
Can you tell me most important properties of indifference curve?
Ma'am, indifference curve is a downward sloping. It is convex in shape, and it is used to see the marginal utility that is achieved in utilitarian system.
Okay. Vedika, who is your best friend?
Ma'am, my best friend is Yasha Goyal.
If we call up your best friend and ask him or her to tell us 3 bad things about you, what do you think they'll say?
First thing she'll say that I call her less, and second thing that she'll say is that I sometimes forget what she tells me about, and third thing I think, ma'am, that she will say is that I sometimes speak too fast, that she's not able to understand what
Okay,
I'm
my
saying.
last question to you, Vedika, is what if you don't get through this exam? What will you do?
Ma'am, if I do not get through this exam, the plan B that I have thought about is working in the education sector, either at the management level or as a teacher. That is something that I still need to think about.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All the best to you.
Thank you, sir.
We'll see you as a civil servant shortly.
Thank you, sir.
Unacademy. Let's crack it.